What's up, guys?
Hey.
Welcome to Backwoods Bulletin. We're missing two of our people tonight, right?
Yes.
This is Jim.
Hello. This is Brandy.
Hey.
There's nothing wrong with your picture. There's two people missing.
Yep. And but I think we're gonna do good. We're on time again.
Yes.
Look at the time. It's 7:02. It's amazing. Last show we didn't have Joel. This show we don't have Joel.
Common
Both
theme.
shows were on time, you guys. So let's get Joel with the programming. Anyways, there's a lot to talk about. We're kind of winging it tonight because we have so much to talk about. It's hard to put it in order.
Definitely.
Let's start with local stuff, should we?
Yes.
June 26th, what's happening?
Open the floodgates.
Yeah. We have
June 26th.
June 26th. This next Monday.
Oh.
It's the 8th, it's the 19th today.
Estacada City Council meeting.
Yeah.
To discuss HB 3115, which was passed back in 2021.
Yep.
In order to designate a area for homeless people.
Right.
In our jurisdiction.
Right.
Because our illustrious governor says we have to.
Well, the thing that's so funny to me is there's a lot of towns in Oregon that are saying, F you, we're not going to do this. We'll take the chance of getting sued. Because the state is basically trying to cram it down all these small towns' throats that you have to do all these things. And what's interesting is we have a city lawyer and a city staff and some other council members that are pushing this hardcore and saying that if we don't designate a spot for camping or homelessness to be completely legal, acceptable, you can have tent city in a spot, then you're breaking this law.
Right.
But I don't know about you, but I've read it. I don't see that anywhere. I don't see that written out anywhere.
No.
I see that you've got to have 72 hours notice. If you're moving their tent, you need to store their stuff. You can't necessarily make it a criminal act to be homeless.
Right.
But
it would just be a fine.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's nowhere they're saying that you have to. They say you're too quiet, Jim. You got to eat the mic. You got to go like this.
Even more so? Sorry.
Yeah. I've got so many mics on him, and he's still quiet. Here, we'll go like that.
All right.
So they're saying that you have to. There's.
In between.
They're saying that this is like you have to designate the spot, but the law doesn't actually say that. There's ways around that. And I know my husband, he's on the council. He came up with some good ideas. I love the hybrid idea of let's work on having the county be involved in what we're doing and have a place in the county that's designated to send people so they actually have resources. Because what's more humane? Let's plop them on a concrete parking lot where there's no resources in our town whatsoever for homeless, nothing. Or let's send them to a place where they could get recovery, they could get counseling, they could get housing, they can get food. I mean, everything.
Well, first of all, if you're going to tell the homeless they have to stay here, are they really going to follow through with that?
Yeah.
No, because they don't do that.
No.
I mean, I know several that bounce around from the library to the portal in Estacada at Timber Park, and they park all over town.
Yeah.
You know, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
But to tell them to park across the street from the fire station and then sleep there, well, has anyone asked the fire department?
Right?
Because I don't think they would like that.
I would love to see a representative or several representatives from our fire department show up at that meeting and tell the council what they think.
I think it's, it's just, I had this discussion with my wife. And
that's a bad angle, Brandy.
That's okay.
Keep going.
You are allowed to burn the American flag
in
this country, and it's legal. You're never going to catch anyone doing that in front of me.
Nope.
It's not going to happen.
Nope.
And we're hoping that people in Estacada hey, I'll just take 100 people.
Yeah.
That would be great to come out.
Yes, please
So
come
everyone can
out.
talk for 3 minutes and voice their opinions. The problem I'm having is nonprofits or organizations that um, several locations. One has paid for the area to be there at Timber Park,
Yep.
which does not fall within the city owned. It's owned by PG&E.
Yep.
I'm sure PG&E is well aware that there's a homeless issue.
Yep.
But to say we're going to put it right up against where your park is,
Yeah.
where the birthday parties,
Where they play soccer.
where you're going to play soccer, basketball, t-ball.
Yeah.
That's going to be the designated area. And I think a city councilor said that that's coming into town. That's the first right.
Yeah.
You don't even get to the welcome to
That's the
Estacada
rest stop.
sign. That's the rest stop.
Yeah.
And this is what you see coming into town.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that. I love Estacada.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that.
No.
I do want them to get their help, but if you're going to force this on the citizens of Estacada and the state of Oregon, I think you should force them to be in a program.
Yep. Active recovery
until they're done
health.
Recovered.
Yeah.
I mean, my grandfather was a physician, and he said back in the 70s they need to keep these places open.
Right.
Whether it's psychiatric,
mental health,
drug, alcohol,
yeah.
Keep them all open.
Yeah.
That's what they should be funding.
Yeah.
Because they keep funding all these road projects across the nation. And, well, we took a trip across the nation, and some states are better than others.
Yeah.
Because their colors are different.
Right.
Right?
That's the truth. Well, let's not forget, too, all of a sudden, Portland, who has caused such a huge problem with this homelessness stuff and allowing all this stuff. Now, all of a sudden, they're like, we want to do all these sweeps and we want to... And I think that's why the law was put in place. Somebody, Christy, who's on here, and I'll read your guys' comments in a minute.
Hi, Christy,
who's watching, she actually mentioned to me today, you know why this law came about. They're trying to stop the sweeps in Portland, where they'd go through and sweep all these tents and just get rid of them. Well, we don't have that problem here.
Right.
So why are we being forced to do this? Yet Portland is now actually criminalizing homelessness and trying to get rid of the problem. You've got places like San Diego, who just a couple days ago tried to, or actually did put in an ordinance to stop camping on public property. So why is it now the big cities are allowed to say stop camping, even though we caused the problem and we want to shove the problem off to these small towns who don't have resources? We don't have that. We don't have anything here. I mean, there is nothing here that I can do. I run a nonprofit in this town, and like I've said, I am one that has a heart and a concern for every human being.
Mm-hmm.
I have helped many of our local homeless, and yes, we have like 4 or 5 regular homeless people in our town. I know them by name. I've chased them down for hours on Thanksgiving to feed them, and I will do whatever it takes to make sure they're safe.
Definitely.
And okay.
And that's the issue.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, because if you're against an issue, instantly you don't like the homeless,
or you don't care, or they
just completely shut down and they don't want to hear it. Well, you can't have an opinion without listening to a different opinion. Well, that's not how it goes.
What's funny is the respectful people that are homeless in a small town like Estacada, typically those people agree with us.
Yeah.
Don't want random people coming here and taking over and ruining it for them. They have a good thing going. They're happy with what they've got. Right. They've chosen this lifestyle. They're, you know what I mean? And if they don't choose this lifestyle, they have people that have given them opportunities to get out of it, and sometimes they don't take it.
Mm-hmm.
But who wants that? I mean, I'm sorry. It's pretty messed up to say that it's more humane to plop a homeless camp on pavement. And the 2 ideas that are being proposed here in Estacada are right in front of our fire department in a parking lot, or in a parking lot at our rest stop when you're first coming into our town. Right next to a park where kids play, where kids have soccer practice, where they do disc golf, where they do car shows, where we have all kinds of stuff. The river
access.
Yep. And so these 2 proposed locations, not only are they crappy for our town, they're also inhumane. There's
Right.
no, I mean, the portal actually has like a bathroom, doesn't it? Like a porta potty.
Further in, probably another 100 feet, it has a area with a bathroom.
Right.
I'm sorry, the birthday and the soccer fields,
Yeah.
they have bathroom
So they
facilities
have
there.
bathrooms, but they
Yeah.
have to go over to where the kids are hanging out. And I'm sorry, you can't
Right.
deny that no matter what, even if not all homeless are druggies, not all homeless do drugs,
Right.
but when you bring a homeless population, you bring needles, you bring paraphernalia, you bring all this stuff that's going to be left behind, and it's not inhumane or bigoted or mean to say
Right.
the truth. And the truth is that when you have a bunch of homeless together,
Right.
you have drugs, you have needles, you have
Right.
trash everywhere, you have feces on the ground. I mean, this is what happens.
And we've seen times where this one individual that we've both had contact with,
Yep.
she's been lucid and
Yep.
I don't want to say normal, but functioning,
Kind.
and she is accepted
Yeah.
clothing.
Yep.
And
Blankets.
and other 2 times that my wife and I have, it were hot days last summer,
Mm-hmm.
and then in less than a week, she's breaking into someone's house with a knife,
Yep.
causing a SWAT response
Yep.
from the rest of Clackamas County, and nothing's being done about her. And then she shows up after, I mean, I talked to a couple of the SWAT officers, and I'm like, wow, I'm really old. 'Cause
Yeah.
these guys are really young, and
Yeah.
they're really good at their jobs. But did they really have to be called out here for this?
Yeah.
I kind of took offense to that.
Right.
I mean, they could be doing like, bank robbers and, major, like
Getting
you see on
pedophile.
TV. Exactly.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
Yeah.
We have someone in here in town for
Yeah.
homeless. I was just like, seriously?
And you're right. She has different interactions with different people.
Yeah.
She can be super kind and funny and awesome to talk to.
Mhm.
And then another moment, she's breaking into homes. She's climbing over a post office counter
Yeah.
and claiming that somebody's chasing her with a gun and getting a huge problem there. And
Right.
it's just there's issues there. I gotta read some of these comments before we move on. Tony says, "Hey sis and Jim." My mom says, "Hi guys."
Hey, Tony.
Tony says, "Amazing, Jim. Eat that mic." And then Christy said, "Jim, you're too quiet." But I told you that already, so we're good.
Yeah, I get told that a lot. Thank you.
When he gets excited or passionate about something, he gets really quiet like that. And so we work on that.
Yeah.
John Nieder said they're breaking into the back of the Veterans Memorial and breaking the gates and locks and leaving their garbage and human waste for us to clean up. See what I mean? Let's put them closer to that, shall we? Let's just, I'm sorry, John. That's messed up.
Definitely.
It really needs to stop. And then Katie Horton said it's sad. It's just, there's so much to this. There's so much more to this. And I will continue to say, I think it's a lot more humane to find a solution with the county, to get them resources, to get them where they need to be, if they're willing to accept the help, than to give them a plot on a parking lot on concrete or asphalt. I mean, that's my personal.
That was another good statement. That was a good observation.
Yeah.
Like, is the city responsible for bedrolls, mattresses,
Right.
sleeping bags, pillows, and then they take them with them?
Where does it stop?
Because where do you ask someone to sleep?
Yeah.
Do you have them sleep on the concrete?
Yeah.
That was a pretty good statement by the city
Well,
councilor.
And where does it end too? Like,
Right.
we're first it starts with we have to designate a camping spot. Then it goes to we have to buy them, the necessities in order to camp.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes to we have to provide them food 3 times a day. And then it goes to we have to provide them free housing. And all of it can be, the same argument can be used against you, a fear argument of, well, if you don't do this, you're inhumane, you're a bigot, you're going to be seen as the town that doesn't care about people.
We can solve the housing and we can solve the food. If they get arrested,
Yep. 3 hots and a cot.
done. Now, I'm curious, Brandy and I haven't talked about this, but what would it take for the city of Estacada to sue the state of Oregon?
That's a good question. I think it would be great to see all the rural small towns come together and sue the state of Oregon and say, screw you, we're done.
Right.
And I've seen comments online from community members who are like, I'd rather put money into a fund
Right.
to go towards paying those fees or that lawsuit that they keep using to fear us into this than to allow this to happen. I
Well,
hope those people come to city council and speak.
well,
Please come to city council.
the one ideology is to fight everything in court,
Yeah.
which is not something we are
No.
big on because
No.
we don't believe that way.
No.
But it works because it stalls, it drags out an issue until the next issue comes up.
Yeah.
I mean, is there someone there? Is it the governor there? The Secretary of State? Oh no, we're on another Secretary of State, and and I mean, who's keeping track of HB 3115?
Yeah.
And who's going to enforce it?
Well, and they're
Do we
using.
have Clackamas County Sheriff?
Yeah.
Do we have code enforcement officer? I mean, do we have? I mean, I think when people read into it, you have the fire department, you have all the public property on Main Street over to Broadway and then down to 224. And I'm sure there's others,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, again, they're not going to follow the rules.
Mm-mm.
You have to be there. Okay, so you put it in the newspaper, you put it online, you put it in social media. Do they care?
No.
No.
Well, that's
So
the
who's
thing.
it punishing?
That's punishing the community. It's not
The
punishing
people like
anybody.
outside, that live over by the fire station? How about the people that, are over there at the portal?
Yeah.
Or how about all the people coming to spend money and eating at restaurants in Estacada?
Well, and
Do you think they'll come back?
They use that parking lot across from the fire station for a Saturday market every Saturday during the summer.
Good point.
They use that parking lot for overflow parking for downtown. Like
Mhm.
you could park there and walk downtown. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, what are we gonna do with? We're always talking about the fact that we are a small town that needs
Mhm.
our visitors to come and spend money when they're going up the river.
Right.
You're gonna put them right smack dab and on the highway, right in
Well-
front of our downtown, like.
Yeah.
And the portal's no better because that's our first rest stop coming into Estacada, where everybody knows to stop there, go check out the river,
Right.
have a picnic.
Yeah.
I go there and have lunch every once in a while
Mhm.
with my buddy or by myself sometimes.
Right.
It's like it won't be safe to do that anymore. And so there's a lot of things to think about, and I hope people come and speak on it. We have a bunch of comments again.
Yay.
Jay said,
Hey,
so
Jay.
the lady we were talking about that we all know in town. And that's the thing. We're a small town. We have so few homeless problems that when there is one, we all know who it is. It's
Right.
the same. It's one individual that's doing this. He said she walked right into my neighbor's place and refused to leave, then was fighting with the neighbor so much we had to call the police. But then once the police came, the police refused to go in and drag her out of my neighbor's place. They claimed squatters' rights. And then someone else said some homeless folks I met are not all bad, but some are horrible. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, like I said, we work with the homeless every year when we
Right.
come to Thanksgiving and Christmas and trying to get hot meals to people that not necessarily always have a hot meal.
Right.
I've offered resources to certain individuals in our town that are homeless. I don't know how many times.
Right.
And they never take me up on it. They never do it. They never do it because they either they don't want to follow rules or they're happy with what they're doing.
It's funny you mentioned that. We just had the senior breakfast for Estacada High School, and I had quite a few meals.
Mm-hmm.
And this was 6-something in the morning once
Yeah.
we were done.
Yeah.
I drove around town
Good for you.
to see if anybody was out because I had,
Yeah.
like
You had a lot left.
I couldn't find anybody.
Did you look at the post office?
I went everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, within 10 minutes driving
Yeah.
around, I couldn't find anyone
Yeah.
because I'm like, I
Not
gotta get rid
surprising.
of this food.
Not surprising.
I can't,
We don't have a big, huge homeless problem
No.
here. We have a few, but I firmly believe if we bring this here and we say, yep, we're designating this spot, it's totally cool, come on and camp, it's going to bring people here because Portland already gives people a bus pass and say, go to the end of the line. We're the end of the line, by the way. And then say, have fun.
And they're already changing, like you said. They're doing the sweeps.
Yep.
They're enforcing things.
Yep.
And it was 2021 when they did this, when they didn't have a clue
Yeah.
with all this money was getting allocated to fight or solve this crisis, whatever
Right.
you want to call it. And you get to the point where it was 2 months ago? Oh, we can't be handing out tarps anymore
Yeah.
because
what
they're
the
not
heck?
fire retardant. Duh.
Oh, yeah. Hello. Well, and we know, like, for example, I know this is controversial, but Riverside Fire here, 2020, they kept saying it started at the Ribblebrook campsite, but it was actually outside of Ribblebrook. Like, if
Right.
you go look up there, you can see it. And people are trying to say, hey, it was a homeless camp that started this, that started the fire. The big fire that we almost lost our town started by a homeless camp. Like it or not, that's just reality. Because there's no responsibility there. It's a kind of
Camping.
life. Yeah, it's a kind of life where you have no rules. You just do your own thing. You're free to do what you want. And a lot of people like that, but at the same time, it puts others in danger. And leaving needles, I mean, there's needles I've found in our town before in certain hot spots. One of the areas that's had a problem is the post office.
Oh.
There's that same lady we've talked about. She found out that she could lay inside the post office at night, and so she'll go in there. And these poor ladies that open the post office, it's a federal
Right.
building, so they're not allowed to bring a gun in there and protect themselves.
Right.
Think about that. It's just terrifying.
Can't bring a gun in legally.
Yeah. I mean, it is Estacada, but
Exactly. Long lumber jacket. Just get my mail.
Christy said, unless someone figures out how to bring all of the resources to our town without our town paying for it, it is unfeasible for our small town to take in this type of issue.
Right.
Agree.
County resources.
and
again, go ahead.
Oh, they said, and it's a catch-22. If we have the resources, they will come here to soak them up. Then we will have left with a bigger problem, just like we have seen literally everywhere else that has done this. Exactly. And then somebody else said, I won't swim in the river due to it being soiled by homeless people. And then somebody replied, it's filled with needles from drug use. Some claim it's from diabetic people. However, anybody with working brain knows damn sure it's from drugs because diabetics properly dispose of their needles.
Right.
Yeah. It sucks because we should have, and I do think that that's one of the reasons they're trying to bring more light to the river and like open it up and show it as a venue of like, here, come visit and launch your kayak and stuff. I think
at the foothills of the Cascades.
Yeah, I think
visit Estacada.
Good reason for that because if you open that up, they're not going to want to hide out there. They're hiding out there because nobody's watching them and nobody really sees them.
Right. So would you think it would be good to have it like right in front of City Hall?
That's my
someplace
solution.
Where they wouldn't be.
City Hall parking lot.
City Hall parking lot, the bus stop.
That's what I think. I mean, if we have
so
to.
public, even when it's 2 or 3 a.m., cop would be like, hey, come on.
My personal opinion, here's my personal opinion on this, and we don't have to, we'll go on from this after we give our little opinions. I know we're going crazy on it, but it's important to us, okay?
It is.
My personal opinion on this issue, I don't think we should do it. I think we should either, if we do anything, go with the hybrid approach. But let's not let the city's lawyer, who doesn't live here, by the way, and is the lawyer for a lot of cities that are much bigger than ours.
Right.
The city lawyer, certain city staff, and the few city councilors that are pushing for this so hard, let's say, screw you. We're not afraid, and we're not going to let you fear us into this. That's my personal opinion. I think we should say no. If for some reason we cannot get the numbers to say no, because we have I know I can see that there's a couple that are solid no's that, from watching it and, solidly don't want to do this. But I know there's a couple that are like, not sure what the right thing to do is. And then there's 3 that are for sure going to say yes no matter what.
Right.
If those 2 don't say no, then let's find a place like City Hall parking lot or City Hall grass right in front of City Hall. And that needs to be the designated spot because otherwise it's going to be a huge problem. I know West Lynn designated it as their police parking lot is where they designated it.
Nice.
And we don't have a police parking lot. Well, let's not mention we don't have our own police department. Hello. And they asked the police, like, are you going to be able to designate people to clean this up every day? And he's like, no.
Or even get people to move on if they don't want to move on.
They can't force them to. And so I think one of the people of the city was like, oh, we'll just get the public works to do it. Yeah, let's just add more to their plate. We can't even get them to do what they need to do. Anyways, that's my rant on that.
I agree. Again, I think listening to the taxpayers if taxpayers want to use their tax dollars to fight this in court, so be it. Um, his opinion is just an opinion as legal advice to give to the counselors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all up to those 7 individuals. That's why
Yeah.
I'm hoping 100 people show up
Come to
to the city
Estacada.
council meeting because I'm retired,
Yeah.
grandfather, father. I have other things that I can be doing, but I choose to, be involved.
Yeah.
I think we all do as we get older. Brandy and Joel, the exception. Younger. But it's it's just like anywhere else. Oh, I didn't know this development was going in until they break ground 5 feet from your front door. Shame on you. You should
Yeah.
know about it.
Yep.
It's on the city website. It's in the infrastructure, the planning commission. Everything in this town has a way it's done.
Yeah.
And it's done publicly on record. And all you have to do is log on. You can do this online.
Yeah.
The city council meeting. You can stay at home.
Yeah. I hope
Participate.
if you're an Estacada city resident or you live in the outskirts but you're
Yes.
still in Estacada, I consider everybody that calls Estacada home
Yep.
needs to show up
Eagle Creek.
next Monday. Eagle Creek as well. Show up next Monday, June 26th, 7 p.m., City Hall. Sign up for the first community comment
Yep.
because if you sign up for the second community comment, it's after they vote for everything.
Yep.
So first community comment and fill it up. And you know what? If you disagree with us, still come.
That's right.
Everybody
We
has
want to
a
hear
right.
everybody.
Yeah, everybody has a right to say what they need. And I had
Right.
someone tell me today that she felt like no matter what the citizens say, they don't give a crap. They're not going to listen. And I know that there are a few on there that probably feel that way. But there are a few on our council. I can say my husband at least, and I know the mayor,
Mhm.
they both really, really want the community input. They talk about it constantly. They want to do what the community
Yeah.
needs and wants. So come tell them what you want, because if you don't come tell them, you don't come speak, blabbing online isn't going to do anything.
Right.
So come speak, and it does make a difference. It really, really does.
It's recorded.
Yep.
It's there forever. And funny you said that. When I first moved to California under President Clinton,
Oh boy.
I was told my vote doesn't matter. And I said, well, guess what? I'm from Massachusetts. I really don't give a what you think. Because I don't vote with the majority, my vote doesn't matter. I
Mhm.
said, what public school did you go to?
Yeah.
Because I said, mine was awesome.
Yeah.
Plus, my dad was a history teacher. So guess what? This conversation is done.
Yeah.
I'm going to vote, and it'll be in the loser column, but I'm still going to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught my kids the same way. If people don't agree with you, oh well.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I agree. Every vote matters.
That's
Every
right.
voice matters. And you know what? You're not always going to get what you want, but at least you didn't just, do nothing and
Right.
then complain about it afterwards. It makes no
Exactly.
sense to me. You know how many times, it doesn't matter what you do, people are going to be unhappy. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But when you constantly hear, it gets really exhausting. I know for me, in the many capacities I've served this city, it gets really exhausting to hear, well, how come you chose this? And how come you didn't do this? And you didn't think about this? And somebody wants us to put up stop signs. We do stop signs. And then you got people complaining about the stop signs. It's like no matter
Stop
what you
signs.
do, there's somebody's not happy. So
Right.
you're not always going to get what you want. But at least you come and you tell your representatives who they're representing and what
Mhm.
those people that they're representing feel. Because most people, maybe not most, but I know my husband personally. I know the mayor personally. They're on this show.
Right.
I know they are always wanting to do what the community wants, whether they
Absolutely.
agree with it or not.
That's what we're
And
here
that's-
for, is to send in recommendations.
That's what all representatives should do. And I know that's not always the case.
And
But there are
it
good
could be simple
representatives out
things.
there.
Whatever it is, you should contact the city, or actually get on to cityofestacada.org and look what committees there are. 'Cause
Yeah.
you might have an issue with the planning commission. There's
Then
a
join
planning
it.
commission.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Join the planning commission.
Join the planning commission.
Then your voice is even more.
That's right.
You know?
Then you'll know what's going on.
Yeah. Anyways, we gave a lot of lecture on this.
Yes.
I'll read the comments and then we'll give you guys a commercial and we'll come back and do the. So when we go to commercial, I will say if you have kids in the room, if you have kids nearby, get them off, because we're going into my normal section of stuff, and it's pretty. There's some gnarly shit going on. Excuse my language,
Amen.
but it's bad. Okay, so comments. Jay said, make all the teens that work in public works to clean up after the human filth. Pretty sure that wasn't in the job description when they applied for it. John Nieder said, tell the state that it's all well and good to make a law, but where's the money going to be to enact the law? Give us the money first and we'll work on it. I like that.
That's good.
Let people comment on the YouTube channel then. I'm assuming you're talking about city council meetings on YouTube. I've been at the city council meetings where they've explained why they don't allow comments,
Right.
and it has to do with official public record.
Right.
They can't possibly keep up with the comments and put them into official public record,
right.
so it's kind of a big problem.
Right.
So they don't have enough people on staff to get that, which that makes sense to me.
There could be 1,000 comments.
Yeah. So
in another week on such an issue like this.
If you can't be there in person, Zoom is a great way to give your personal. You can still speak during public comment. There's also a way on the website to send in an email that's a public comment email. You just have to tag it, and it says, if you go under the official city website, it says tag it as a public comment, and they will put it into the packet. And it's on the record there too. So
no excuses not to show up.
Yeah, there's really no excuse. I'm sorry.
Participate.
And then city is ran by hypocrites. I don't mean the mayor and some of the council members. Yeah, there's a problem between the city staff that get paid and aren't elected and those that are elected. There is a problem there, and I won't get into that, but
That's
all know
another show.
Yeah, that's another show. Agreed to disagree. That is how we see from both sides. Yep. But that needs public input. How can we have anything to agree to disagree on if we don't have the discussion in the first place? Agreed. The discussion needs to happen. People need to show up because the discussion's happening on Facebook all over the place. I can't help but see hundreds of comments constantly back and forth. So come to council and do that, because not all council has the time. I mean, you got to remember our council members, including the mayor, are volunteers. They don't get paid. They all have other jobs. Okay. So they're not going to be able to just spend time reading every single comment. They might hear some in passing, but how are they supposed to know what everybody's opinions are if you don't tell them? Just putting that out there. Anything else to say on this before we go to commercial?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, we'll be back, guys. Check out our awesome sponsors, and then remember, get the kids away. No kids listening to this next part. Okay, we'll see you in a sec. Welcome back. Oh, real quick. So Whitney Signs is awesome. I got to put this out there because there's been a little bit of other companies coming up and around and things, but Whitney Signs has been around forever. They have the best quality stuff. I mean, we use all of our stickers and stuff are with them, and I could put my stuff in. Oh yeah, our cards. I mean, they're the best, you guys. Everything we do is through them, and they're incredible. Their stickers can go through the dishwasher 100 times. Like we have those glass mugs we use with our stickers, our old logo on it. The logo looks brand new still. It's amazing how much
Sweet.
they can do. So I really encourage everybody to use them. If you have a banner or a sign or you need stickers made or something, because it's just they're so good. They're so good at what they do. I will give a little hint. Mary Whitney is really good at what she does. She is a artist.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is say, I want something like this, and she will come up with something for you. And she does really good with that, because artists usually are really great at like taking something and turning it into something beautiful. She's really good at that. So
very creative.
Yeah, and then Hitch and Post, they're awesome. They're a very pro-American company. Val is one of my favorite people in this world. She's hilarious. So support these local companies that love you, and those companies are heavily involved in the community. They're heavily involved in nonprofit work.
Yes.
So support them. That's my opinion on that. Yes, and Christy said Mary's amazing at what she does. So we're here. She is, Christy. We're here to talk about some crazy stuff. So it is crazy. And I'm not laughing because it's funny, but get the kids out for sure. I'm going to give you 5 seconds because the first thing I'm talking about is really gross. Okay, so last week I told you about not last week, 2 weeks ago, right. I told you guys about the thing that was happening in the school, the first grade class, where the little girl was under the table and she was doing sexual things to a little boy, and they taped it. It was a big, huge thing. Well, I saw an update video today of a mother talking to the school district, and because the school district is coming out and saying this was a consensual act between kids. Their investigation has said that it's a... Sorry, someone's trying to call my phone while we're in the middle of the show. The school district is coming out saying this was a consensual act between 6-year-old children, and that the teacher's not at fault and the school district's not at fault, and blah, 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 blah. And this parent gets up there and she goes, you know what? This narrative is not correct.
Right.
Her daughter is the cousin to this little girl and friend to this little girl, and she had her daughter on the phone. And she asked her daughter, was this consensual? And she put her up to the microphone, and this sweet little girl says, no, my cousin and my friend did not want to do this. She was forced into this. She did not want to do this, because she's 6-year-old, so she doesn't know how to put consensual or whatever.
Right.
And so the mom goes on, or the mom of the girl that gave that commentary goes on to say, this was not a consensual act. This was an act of these boys forcing this girl into that. This was a criminal act.
Yes. And
on top of that, a criminal act of taping it, which is also another criminal act. Yep. And you trying to make it out to be a consensual little, whoops, we beat each other up on the playground. It's not the same thing. Mm-hmm. They drug this girl under a desk, and several boys forced her, and I'm sorry to say this, they forced her to perform oral sex on this boy. Okay? And then taped it at 6 years old. And the school district is trying to write it off. And this is just one of the many things happening in our country right now.
They're not going to get away with it.
It's just sickening. And I was just talking to Jim about this. There's a huge connection of what they're trying to pass off as normal, what they're trying to desensitize the country to. They're trying to desensitize us to children being sexualized with this gender transition stuff. And you can believe whatever. I mean, I don't care what adults do. It doesn't affect me. I don't care what... Right. It doesn't really matter to me.
Until it affects you.
Until it affects me. Yeah, it doesn't really matter to me what your sexuality is, what you feel you are. But when you take it from that to... Because it started with, we just want to be able to get married and live our lives. Right. And that's... Shoot, do it. Go for it. Doesn't affect me any. Right. I don't mind. Mm-hmm. Doesn't bother me. But now you've got a separate group, and I don't think they're the same as the LGBT group. I think this is a separate group that's a radical group, just like every group has radicals, that are trying to sexualize our children by starting them with gender transition therapy, saying as young as a baby they know how to have like sexual experiences and they know their gender and all this stuff that kids should not be involved in. And the normalizing of this, the making this so normal and so just regular to talk about,
Right.
is opening that door to these pedophiles that are all over the place. And there's so much more to it that I'll talk about in a minute. But it's just mind-blowing to me that this mom had to go to this school district and say, this is a problem. Like, did they not know that already?
Well, I mean, a child to every state in this country
Mm-hmm.
is 17 years, 11 months, 29 days.
Yep.
Once you hit 18, you're in the big group.
Right.
You can do whatever you want.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You can get married.
There's still stuff you can't do. You can't drink.
But you can serve your country.
Yep.
You can drink if you go with friends that are older than you in the service.
Yep.
You know, can you buy bullets? Sometimes.
Depending on the state.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're a child until you're 17 years old. That's what the law says.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe in the homeless issue, if they would enforce laws
Mm-hmm.
or have people have enough resources to convict people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I
Yep.
mean, we just read the other day that, what's his name there in Multnomah County? We had to get rid of these four cases, felony cases, because there weren't enough attorneys.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to continually make laws and have people, soldiers, airmen, Marines, sailors,
Yeah.
fight for those laws, why would you not enforce them?
Exactly.
I don't understand it. We have a border patrol that it regulates everything on the border. People don't cross legally on either side of the port of entry. That's why there's the mission of the border patrol.
Mm-hmm.
Going through the ports of entry, there's people there
Mm-hmm.
not wearing green.
Yeah.
They're everywhere else. So why would you have a child? Why would a school blame a child or not blame a child for that matter
Thank you.
for doing that? I don't understand it. It's against the law to film it.
It's against the law.
Why would you pull
force it.
someone under the table if you thought it was wrong
Right.
or right, if
Right,
it was
right.
okay to do?
Yeah.
What are those kids doing? Those kids shouldn't be in school. Expelled. Done.
Yeah.
Lawsuit. School. Done.
And find out where in the world, and I think I know the answer to this, but where on earth are these boys getting the idea to do this? I think it's possibly, I don't know, maybe because we've brought all this shit into the schools
Yeah.
where they're reading books about performing oral sex.
Maybe they're allowed to use internet at school.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Either way, I mean, this is a problem, and I watched it. Okay, I'm so glad that Tucker Carlson is still doing Twitter because I listened to his little. He does the best monologues. I could never do that because I'm too like into like communicating with. He's really good at monologues. I couldn't do it. I couldn't just sit there with a straight face like he does and speak for 15 minutes. It's just not possible. But he's talking about when you take away the morality of a country, which is what we've done with this. We've taken it to such an extreme. Just a generation ago, pedophiles were the most hated groups of individuals in this country. Pedophiles, rapists, murderers, right?
Still are
To many of us, but they've made it to where they're not the number one bad guy. The number one bad guy to this administration is white supremacy, right? What is white supremacy? Oh, it's something you can't define. Well, that means everybody's at risk. Like this guy who drove by a Black Lives Matter protest and was cracking his knuckles, and he lost his job, and he lost his job and got blasted online for a white supremacist like thing that he did with his hand. And the guy's like, I was just cracking my knuckles, you guys. Like, this is what happens when you take and you turn this big bad wolf into something that isn't real and doesn't have a definition. And then the stuff that we should be fighting against, like in 96 or I think it was 1994, that Dahmer was beat up really bad, and they had to say to people Dahmer was a pedophile. He killed children. He raped and killed children, boys. He did other things that were really disgusting. But in like 1994, they had to say, don't take it out. You cannot go after this guy like the whole country wanted to, right? They had to stop you from going after this guy. Now, I'm sad to say this, but if there was a guy like Dahmer, he would be a protected class. And that's the reality of it. And you've got pedophilia as something that's becoming more and more common. We're making it more and more normalized. Sexuality of children is always being talked about now. And they're desensitizing us to this disgusting, nasty behavior. And now, like, for example, Rittenhouse, right? Kyle Rittenhouse was at this protest, and the guy that he shot and killed was a pedophile. This pedophile was coming after him, and he defended himself against this pedophile, and he went on trial. He was on trial for defending himself. A child, Rittenhouse was underage.
In what state?
I can't remember what state that was.
Minnesota? Wisconsin?
Something like that. He had to defend himself, and then he had to go on trial for it. And 30 years ago, that would have never happened. They would have said, for getting rid of the pedophile. Where the hell are we going? I mean, this is true. I mean, this is what I talk about every week. Someone said, it's a product of environment. Now it is the environment at home, school, somewhere else. I believe everywhere. Internet has those materials too easily available. Greetings and salutations. Hi, Mike. Also, the guy who had his whole smart house shut down by Amazon for a whole week because a driver said he used a racial slur. Kenosha, Wisconsin is where that was, by the way. Yeah, this is the stuff that's happening, and they're trying these. I mean, I could go on and on and on, you guys. It's insane. But I'm pushing this all the time because it's a reality. Like, Trump's been indicted, right? But then you've got the Biden family, who they have. I just saw today pictures and videos of Biden's son, Hunter, with pedophile images, like images of him with children and girls underage doing things like drugs and sexual things. And none of this is on the main media. Like, that's not the big bad wolf, but the big bad wolf is someone who might the white supremacy, deep-rooted white supremacy in America that you can't define.
Big bad wolves in the White House.
Yeah, exactly. I firmly believe our president is a pedophile, in my opinion. Talking about kids rubbing his leg and sniffing heads.
Well, the videos with the young girls are so inappropriate. It's.
I encourage you guys to look it up.
It's hard to watch those.
Yeah.
And those are done in official capacity, official. Whether they're in a stateroom or dinners.
Yeah.
It's just creepy. I think my personal opinion, parents being in the school system, I think a lot of this, if the school is going to open themselves up to things like this and encouraging it, I think that every parent, grandparent should sue the schools.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not going to work everywhere. Get on the school boards.
Yep.
A lot of people are like, this country's not what it used to be. Well, you look around, there's a lot more female governors.
Yeah.
A lot more red state governors. And the school boards are being taken back.
Yep.
And where is Brandy saying all these problems are stemming from? The schools.
Yeah.
So it's leaning a certain way. And the textbooks are getting taken down, and all these ridiculous, CRT being taught. It's got to go. Yeah. And these boards are doing a lot of the work, but again, they can't do it themselves. There are 5-7 people in a town of, they have to go through all their manuals, the books. And in the case where I think we talked about this a year or two ago, where that child in Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
remember the guy, he was a serial um, sexual abuser. He would go into the bathrooms
Oh,
of his
yeah.
other gender,
Yeah.
and the school board knew about it.
Yep.
Right there, that's cashing in.
Yep. Well,
Yeah,
it's a
it
money
doesn't
thing.
solve the problem, but if they know about it and the kid's going in there
Mm-hmm.
and he's claiming to be fluid,
Right.
I'm sorry, no,
It
can't do
won't.
that.
It's like
You
these.
got to pay.
It's like these criminals that get convicted and they're going to jail for a long time, and all of a sudden they want to be a woman,
Mm.
and they're put into women's prison, and they're raping these women, and these women are coming up pregnant in women's prison. And then you've got this one lady said, like, don't send your child into a bathroom by themselves ever again, because now you've got men with full access to women's restrooms because they could just claim they're a woman, and then they're sitting in there waiting for your kid to come in and to do whatever they can with them. It's like this stuff it's so in our face. It's so obvious what's going on. The only reason I could see people defending it is either they're brainwashed, dumb, or they're pedophiles.
I'm posted at the ladies' restroom when we go
Yeah.
anywhere,
Yeah.
and I make sure, call out, I'm right here.
Yeah.
And
Good.
it's irrelevant what anyone thinks. I'm not crossing a threshold. I'm a man. I was born a man.
I'm not a woman.
Not a woman.
I am, but he's not.
and if something would happen, take care of business and make sure that we go through the legal process. But again, okay, they can do that, but I don't have to like it.
Yeah.
Where's my opinion
Yeah.
at? You're going
Well,
to pass all these things and it be the majority, like Brandy said, now they can marry.
mhm.
Nobody has a problem with that. Let them marry. It's okay.
Well, and I saw this really cool thing where I hadn't seen this before. I mean, I've heard of gays against groomers.
Yeah.
But I encourage you guys to look it up. It's really interesting. And I've started following some people that are part of that organization. Really cool people, because they do make it clear this is a radical outset of the group, honestly. Right. And they're making everybody that might be homosexual or identify differently look so bad. And this Gays Against Groomers guy, he came to a school board and he says, "What is your problem? We have equality. We're fine. Yeah. We don't need this. Why are you pushing this on kids? Kids need to be kids. Let kids be kids. What the hell are you doing?" And it's the same thing as the BLM stuff. It's protecting or creating all these protected classes. Like, all you have to do in order to get away with breaking the law or doing something you shouldn't be doing is claim you're transgender and you're protected. And that's the truth. And that's where all these pedophiles are getting away with doing what they're doing. And there's more. Like, I talked about Operation Underground Railroad last time. And I go see Sound of Freedom out the 4th of July weekend in theaters. There are several theaters in our area that have it from like the 3rd to like the 10th. So I encourage you to go see it. It's based on the true story of Tim Ballard. Tim Ballard is an incredible guy who runs Operation Underground Railroad. They also have a new documentary coming out called Hidden War. Good. And it's a 4-part series. I'm not sure when it airs. I'll find out. Good. But Mel Gibson helped. From what I understand, and I'm not sure if this is true, but I heard that Mel Gibson helped either direct it or produce it, or he's involved in some way. And I watched like 10 minutes, 15 minutes today of different videos talking about it. And he's talking about how he's going into all these countries and he's undercover and he's saving these children. And it's some horrendous stories you'll hear about. And there's one I'm going to talk about later, but he literally said America is the #1 consumer of child pornography. America is the #1 consumer of child pornography, and it's a really visual thing. It just made me like break down earlier today when I saw this. And they're showing him going to all these countries, and then all of a sudden from Florida and like Portland, and you see all these streams all over America. This child and human trafficking. It's a huge problem. And the biggest thing that's the problem is America consumes these videos and these pictures of children and also actual children, but it's sickening. It's heartbreaking. He's going around the world to save these kids that are in other countries being abused, but a big part of the problem is here at home. And it's just, he says that he has to, for a while he couldn't connect his kids with the situation. He had to separate it. But now, as he's gotten deeper and deeper into this, he actually superimposes his kid's face on every one of these kids. He has 9 kids. He's adopted several from this situation.
That's cool.
When he's, several of his kids are adopted out of human trafficking and stuff. But he superimposes his kids' faces on these kids because he has 9 kids. Depending on the age group of the child, he, imagines one of his kids and he goes, well, that's so-and-so. I have to save them. It's my child. And he found out that if he looks at them as his kid, he will go way further than if he doesn't. And he says it's a terrible way to do it, but it's the only way I get my job done. Every one of those kids and that moment is my kid, and I have to get them out. And it's just, there are tons of comments I need to read.
There we go.
Christy said it's okay for pedos to come out of the woodwork now that we have a whole ass pedo family in the White House. They feel safe because of it. Yep. Oh yeah. Somebody said, did you see Biden feeling up Eva Longoria? Did you see that video?
No.
Yeah, he had his, I don't know, was it Tony Awards or it was some sort of awards or something or some sort of
Didn't watch it.
Event. Didn't watch it.
Nope. Didn't watch it.
He had his hand on her, right where her boob was. And you could tell she was uncomfortable, but she didn't say anything because it's not, Biden is God to them. If I had a daughter, I'd escort her into the guys' room. Yep. Either pandering to these corrupt propaganda or self-destructions. Jay saw it. I don't need to picture it. It's repulsive. There should only be one protected class, honest law-abiding citizens. I agree.
Yeah, good point.
There's more and more on this, but where was I? There was something I had to say, and then the comments threw me off.
Was it him starting in Eastern Europe and then working his way over? Remember, to Mexico, South America.
Oh, yeah. So, that's the story I wanted to talk about. Yeah. So he was talking about this rescue mission he did in Mexico within the last year. And they spent so much money on it. They were under the impression they were going to save 20 kids or more. Because somebody, the interviewer was asking him, is it worth it? Is it worth the money? He's like, every single kid is worth it. Every one of them is worth it. If we only did this for one, it'd be worth it. And he's talking about this in Mexico, and he's undercover, and he's, he wears stuff like wigs and scars and things. And he says the reason it works so well for us to be undercover is because we're Westerners. We look like Westerners.
Right.
And that's how he got into how Westerners, America, are the top consumers of this stuff.
Right.
And so he's convinced this guy that he wants to go in and have sex with this boy and tape it, and then his partner wants to go in. So anyways, long story short, they meet the boy, and he says it was the most heartbreaking thing. The boy looks at him and says, in Spanish, "Sir, can you bring me a soccer ball?" Or football, but it's a soccer ball. A football. And this kid knew darn well, because he had been in this for several years. They had been abusing this boy for several years. He knew that man was coming to hurt him. But all he wanted was a soccer ball. And so they usually, they had a sting house set up where they have all these cameras, and it's much safer for the Operation Underground Railroad to do it that way, because they have all their people and their cameras and stuff. And they had it all set up where this cartel was going to bring this boy there. It's the cartels that are part of this. Right. And then they get a call, and the cartel says, change of plans. We can't bring him there because you're in a different zone where another cartel is in charge. Right. So this boy is so important to them. He is such a gold mine to them that they're not willing to risk that. So now the plan has changed. Now Tim Ballard and his team have to go to this hotel. Now, it's not a real hotel. It's a hotel that's set up for this kind of shit. So you get there and it's like garages. And each garage opens up to one room. And so you can't escape. There's no escape. Like you go in, there's no out, there's no secret out passageway. So he goes in and he's only able to bring 2 other people with him because he can convince them that him and one other person want to have sex with this boy, and then somebody else is going to tape it. Okay.
So 3 people. Okay.
So 3 people. He can't convince them of any more. So he sends this one guy in pretending to be bringing a woman, a prostitute in, and getting a room and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was going to do recon. And he calls him and he goes, man, there's no way out. It's a garage. You go in. There's no escape. You shouldn't do this. And he says, screw that. I'm going. That's Jake. His son. That's Jake. I've got to save Jake. And so he goes in. And they get there and basically like he buys some cocaine off the guy. Because these criminals believe like if you buy drugs off them, you're already hooked. This is just more time on your sentence. You're already in trouble. So whatever. Right. So once they can convince him to buy cocaine, they think, okay, he's not an operative or something like that. And then they're talking about the boy. So they're in like the garage part. The boy's in the room. And they charge like $3,000. Like if you wanted to have this experience, it's like $3,000, and this is in Mexico. So other places are different, I'm sure. But he pays him the $3,000, and he says once that exchange is done, then he can have the cops come in, which is great because he doesn't actually go into the room with the boy. Once he saw the boy, he left one of the people with him, by the way, because he left those 2 people with the boy, and he went by himself to do this transaction. And that was also very unsafe for him. But he's like, once I see him, that boy is never out of my sight again. And I can't leave one person with him. I need to leave 2 people with him. Right. So there's 2 people with him, and I'm going and putting myself at risk. Anyways, long story short, the boy gets rescued. The police come in. They make it look like he's also a criminal because otherwise he's at risk. But this kind of stuff is happening everywhere. It's happening in Mexico. It's happening in all these places. It's happening here in America. And people don't want to believe it. They just, I don't think that's a conspiracy theory, blah, 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 blah. It's not a conspiracy theory. This is just sickening stuff happening.
Well, we've talked about what happens every February in this country. Mm-hmm. There's a small game in this country called the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And it's highest domestic violence rates every state in this country.
Yeah.
And there's HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol, FBI, all are involved in trying to combat human trafficking or human smuggling, slavery, whatever you want to call it. People's like, well, slavery, they've abolished that.
Yeah.
In the 1860s. Okay, we did, but it's human trafficking. It's like you said, have
huge.
I don't want to say you want drugs to be the number one and not for the kids to get trafficked, but
it's a $34 billion a year industry, from what I understand. It's a $34 billion industry, and this is the biggest slave trade ever known.
And what did you say the group is
Operation
now?
Underground?
No. The group is now he's under attack from this one group.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll tell you about that. Okay. Yeah. So
that just popped in.
So that story I told you was just a story from an interview with Tim Ballard, but I showed Jim the preview for this hidden war, and that's what he's talking about. Okay. This hidden war is talking about this kind of stuff, but it's also talking about how Ukraine is linked in, with the war in Ukraine. It's literally opening this up. He said it's beyond what he's ever seen because you've got all these women and children that are in a position to be taken advantage of. And these human traffickers are going and pretending to be nice people to put them up in a place. And then they get trapped in this human trafficking ring. And it's a huge problem. And so he went and with this found a Dutch guy who was being prosecuted in the Netherlands for pedophilia. He's like this big kingpin guy who's heavily involved. He escaped to Mexico. And Hidden War shows Tim Ballard going undercover and actually speaking with this guy and dealing with him and finding a way into his confidence and stuff like that. And he's talking about these pedophiles are going after Tim Ballard and OUR and saying you're pedophobic. They literally call it pedophobic. And these pedophobic people are more sick towards children. They don't understand the loving relationship pedophiles have with their kids. And it's so twisted. And Tim Ballard goes, they want to start a war? Bring it on. The lights are on. Get your ass over here. I'll take you on. Like, this guy is badass.
This is where I live.
Yeah. Here's my address. Come on, let's do it. Like, these, and you see these guys, like they showed one of the guys and he's just this creepy, like, they're arresting him and he had this creepy smile on his face, and like it's just there's so much of this grossness going on, and a lot of it is tied into this stuff that's going. And even in this Hidden War, they talk about how this stuff has been going on forever, yes, but it's getting worse and more out in the open, and it's being accepted because of the crap they're pushing in our schools, they're pushing in our media, and making pedophiles a protected class now. He goes, it's making my job 10 times harder because it's not just in the dark places anymore. It's out in the light. And everybody's turning a blind eye. It's insane.
Not everyone.
Well, yeah, but the main media and stuff.
Right.
There's tons of comments. Hold on.
That's lots of power there.
Blah, 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 blah. Remember when we all thought Mel was the crazy guy, not counting the alleged anti-Semitism comments? Turn out a lot he was saying was actually true. By the way, for the record, I never thought he was crazy. When Mel Gibson came out and was like saying all these things, I never thought Mel Gibson was crazy. I know the main media made it look like he was a psycho.
You mean after the Passion of the Christ?
Yeah. I know the major media outlets made him look crazy, and they claimed he did all this anti-Semitic stuff. But if you actually look into Mel Gibson, he's not like that at all. Right. He's just he's a God-fearing Christian man who's been fighting for kids for a long time, long before we knew about this stuff. And so, hey, have Jim shout out the car show that's happening this July. We will. Sapad asked, Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Sapad asked, what movie is this? I was talking about just an interview I saw with Tim Ballard. It was like a 25-minute interview where he was telling the story. And then now we're talking about Hidden War, which is a 4-part documentary series. Awesome. I'm not sure where it's going to be.
Everywhere.
I'm going to keep looking it up. And then the movie that I'm telling everyone to go see is Sound of Freedom. And that has, what's his name? The dude that was Jesus on Passion of the Christ. Jim Caviezel. He's awesome. Yeah. And he's like super cool. And he's really into and there's more I got to say now. I'm on a roll now. Sorry, guys. But Jim Caviezel is really cool. He's been fighting this for a long time too. Good and they made him out to be crazy too. They've called Jim Caviezel out. Jim Caviezel's been kind of blacklisted by Hollywood, but he's finding his way.
That's right.
So I saw something with him real quick before we move on to other stuff. Sapot said, I always thought he was crazy before the media. And Brenda said, who's got a van? We can take a whole group to support this movie. You know what? We can hop in my car. We can hop in Joel's truck. We can do a lot of things, you guys. But we have to do it we have to do it like on the 6th or 7th.
Right.
But so Jim Caviezel was talking about, they were asking him like, you know, about Hollywood and things. And I follow some people that used to be really in with Hollywood. You've got Jim Caviezel, other people. I actually just started following Stephen Hilton, and I don't know if anyone knows who that is. He's a British guy. Mm-hmm. He was married to Laura, this blonde lady, and you would know her because she used to make these hilarious videos where her face was like in that filter where she'd be like a square jaw, and she'd be like, Steven, and that's how they became popular, was her like being this goofy square-faced chick in love with this guy Steven who thought she was annoying. Well, they got married, had kids, and they started going through this divorce this last year, and that's when I started following him. I didn't really know that this guy was a Hollywood producer. He directed movies. I mean, that was his career. He made his career in Hollywood. And they're going through this divorce, and he kind of took the red pill, basically. Like, he went from believing all this woke nonsense, believing all this stuff, to once he had kids, he was like, wait a second, you're after my children. Like, you want my kids to change their gender, and you're after. Like, he realized what was going on, and he left Hollywood. He stopped everything. And also, it caused him to lose his marriage. And he went through this deep depression, and he said, I was this weak, sick, not even a man because of this woke stuff. It makes the men not men. And I was excuse my language, but I was a pussy. And now he's realizing, like, my depression was deeply tied to this woke stuff. My depression was tied to my job being intertwined with this stuff. And he is also coming out about this subject. So I've got Jim Caviezel, Stephen Hilton, and somebody else. I can't remember their name right now. They were all involved in Hollywood, and they're all talking about adrenochrome. Have you heard about this?
I have.
So adrenochrome is like a, what are those called? Those fashion drugs or popular, like, fancy drugs, they say. Designer drugs. That's what it is. It's a designer drug that comes out of the adrenaline of children. And how you get this is, so like anybody, if they are scared, or you think you're going to die, your adrenaline shoots up. So these human trafficking places, when they're done using the kids in one way, they use them in the other way, where they scare the crap out of them. So they basically torture them to get this adrenochrome, or kill them and torture them.
Sounds like a Stephen King movie.
It does. It sounds like crazy, right? It sounds like conspiracy theory stuff, but all these Hollywood people are saying the same thing. And they're saying they've seen this. They've seen how they can be in these movie trailers. Like, Hollywood elites are untouchable, right? So they're in these movie trailers with their security force protecting them. And they're bringing kids to them. And they're abusing kids. And they're doing this stuff. And now this adrenochrome thing is a big part of it. It's just, so much of this stuff sounds radical. It sounds crazy. But it's true. It's real.
Have you heard, I think we've talked about this before, and had someone bring it to my attention because I had no idea, and it was A-listed actors, a little bit younger than me, and they call them pizza parties.
Yes.
And the more I read into it, I was sick, because a different sex of child was listed for a different topping.
Yep.
And then you'd go to another interview, talk show, late night, and they would talk about pizza parties at this A actress's house. My jaw was on the ground. I'm like, she's been with all the popular guys, all the guys that make $500 million a movie, and they're doing this type of stuff. And I just was like, nah, come on.
Yeah.
And then I just keep watching, and I'm just like, Hollywood is just completely demented.
It's perverted. It's sick.
So perverted. It's unreal.
Yeah, like what Jim's saying is the pizza party is...
I can't even, it's so disgusting.
It's a code word. Or we're going to bring kids to this party so you can abuse them.
And they talk about it during the daytime.
Yep.
When people are at work.
And they're emailing each other.
But it's no big deal. It's on daytime TV.
Yep.
It's not at night when the kids are asleep. Like we always tried to stay up for Saturday Night Live. Oh, I can't wait to see Jim Belushi. Go to sleep. I couldn't stay up any longer. Just to see this guy say cheeseburger, cheeseburger, cheeseburger. I wanted to see that. And my parents wouldn't let me. But this is like, during the daytime, they're talking about
Yeah, they go on Ellen.
Extreme pedophilia.
They go on Ellen and they
Ellen?
say, "Oh yeah, we had this awesome party. We had pepperoni pizza and with pineapples on it." And these are all code words, and Ellen's sitting there because she knows exactly what she's talking about. Yeah, they talk about it on daytime television like we're all freaking idiots.
Unreal.
And then when you talk about it and you bring it up, like Pizzagate, exactly. Someone said Pizzagate, yeah. And you talk about it and you bring it up and you mention it. I mean, I've been talking about this stuff forever, and it just gets deeper and deeper and worse and worse. And I know I'm a broken record sometimes, but it's because it really needs to be dealt with. This
Absolutely.
is a big problem. And these elites have been allowed for so long to get away with this for so long. And as long as we have people like Biden in the White House, it's going to be, I mean, freaking right on the White House grass. You had him have this pride party at the White House, invite all these people. This transgendered woman, so a male with fake breasts,
A man.
comes to the party, and then he exposed his boobs, and then he's like, "Well, if you're upset about seeing my boobs, then you admit I'm a girl." No, I admit you're a man with fake breasts, showing them on the White House lawn. It's out
Not
in
a
the
crime.
open. Yeah, like, come on, guys. Like, it's time to really stop being afraid to be called crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Stop being afraid to be called a bigot. Stop being afraid to offend somebody, and just fight back. And I'm seeing more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was telling you, the biggest fear of Democrats is seeing minorities and other religions come together with Christian Americans, and that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Black minorities, Hispanic minorities, Asian American minorities, all coming together with the big bad white guys and white girls, and coming together and saying, "Leave our kids alone." Yep. There was a big protest in Canada the other day where Muslims and Christians came together and arm in arm, hugging on each other, saying, "Good. Leave our kids alone," where they've been pitting us against each other for decades, and now we're saying, "Screw you, our kids are more important, we're going to fight together." That's what needs to happen. Talk about Hamtramck. You sent me the email about that.
About which one?
Hamtramck, Michigan, the town that did away with the flag.
It was, let's see. I'm trying to remember because Brandy and I have talked about so many of these
I know we do.
issues. This was specifically, it was the flying of a LGBTQIA plus flag on public property.
Yeah.
And they went through all of their meetings, their fact finding, and they made the decision to take down the gay flag and only fly an American flag on public property, because I believe all of them voted for it.
Yeah, it was unanimous.
And they said, you are included in this flag.
Yep.
Every single included. American, every single person coming here to be an American, they want to be left alone. They're leaving a war-ravaged country. They transition, they do this, they that, whatever. You're born this, you're born that, you're covered. And that's pretty common sense, which not a lot of common sense going around these days.
Yeah.
And to see a city do that, it's just
awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Well, and the special thing about Hamtramck, if I didn't know this about Hamtramck, it's mostly Muslim immigrants. Right. And their council is, every single council member is Muslim.
Right.
And so I watched that council meeting you sent me. It was 4.5 hours long, so it was long.
I didn't watch that much.
I watched it in chunks. And it was really cool because you have people coming to the podium to speak in Arabic, and one of the council members, or I think the mayor, was translating that for the rest of the community.
Awesome.
And you had people coming up there like, this is like, you're putting trans people and gay people back in the closet. And the main point that came out of this was, there is no other group of people that are represented by a flag. All these people, this town is full of immigrants. They're not raising their flags. they're raising the American flag because the American flag defines them all. And no group should be treated special.
Right.
No group has the right to be raised up there alongside the American flag. It just doesn't make sense. And they're like, we're not stopping you from your flag raising on your own property. This is city property that we don't feel it's right to raise one group above another. And they got so much hate, but a lot of the hate was from people that don't actually live there.
Right.
And every single one that I saw complaining was a white person. Just saying.
Right.
I'm not going to say for sure every single one was a white person.
The ones that we saw.
But the ones I saw were white. And it was really cool to see that this town had the balls to do this. And they're like, there were people that got up there and said, you're doing the right thing. Stay strong. This is the right thing.
Right.
Leave our kids alone. Let's do this. And it was really cool to see that. It was awesome.
And it says a lot about this country. You don't have to be born here to love America or to fall, into ideals. I mean, you can go to a harvest market in Estacada, but you can also go to a market that has things offered by a rabbi or a cleric. Or, I mean, what doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah.
But you have it all. You want to go wherever you want to go?
Yeah.
That's great. And they stood up for the community. And like you said, like Brandy said, a bunch of immigrants. Well, this is what flag was.
I love that.
Important flag.
That was so cool.
That's the way it should be.
They're like, we escaped our war-torn countries.
Right.
We escaped that.
Persecution.
And we're American. And people tried to come and say, like, how dare you? When they were angry with you for being Muslim, we stood with you and we defended you. And now you're fighting with these same people. You're fighting on the side of these same people that hated you, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, no, we are all American. And yeah, our religions might not be the same, but the goal is the same.
That's
right.
Is
to protect our kids. And I just thought it was so cool because they've pitted Christians and Muslims specifically against each other for so long since 9/11. And I firmly believe there was a plan there, but they pitted us against them for so long to see people coming together. That's what we need more of in this country.
Right.
Big time.
But if you keep reading like we do and you're able to find books on how the people that infiltrated this country and got on the planes and carried out the attacks against the United States, you'll see that it had nothing to do with a religion.
Nope.
An absolute radical bunch of nutbags, pardon my French, and how lax this country is on identity, whether it be getting driver's licenses in Tennessee and then moving all the way up to, we have to get a real ID in Oregon.
Yeah.
Well, what's a real ID? Because they don't require it. They keep pushing it back. And
I know.
How important is it?
I don't have it
I mean, I have a U.S. passport, so why do I need a driver's license, right?
Yeah.
Or I should say a real ID driver's license. I know how to drive, and I got the little blue book. You already know who I am, So,
yeah.
But things like that, and like Brandy said, everyone was united in the amount of money, getting aside from that, but the amount of money going on a fight because we were under attack was something that hadn't been seen since Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people took that into account. It wasn't just, we're going to go after X, Y, and Z, but nobody knew what was going on until later. And just pick up some books and read about it.
Yeah, exactly. Do research, guys.
I mean, that book was written by a first generation Filipino woman who loves America.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad weren't born here. Then she goes and writes a book about 9/11.
That's crazy.
Wow. That's a pretty cool book.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll find, when I tell Jim is my sounding board on a lot of the stuff I talk about because Joel gets tired of hearing about it. Joel hears a lot about it. Joel hears a lot about it, but Jim's a good sounding board. So he hears. I feel bad because I have to tell him all about the sick stuff sometimes. But honestly, a lot of the people are coming together, and a lot of immigrants and a lot of people that have come from these countries are saying, "Stop putting America there. Stop trying to push this down America's throat." I just talked to a friend of ours who he lives in the UK. He's a really cool dude. I just adore him. And we talked for like an hour and a half the other night, and he's like, excuse my language because he's British, so he curses a lot. But he's like, America has gone tits up and you're fucked. And I said, yeah, that's true. He's like, Biden is a laughingstock of the world. Like, not just the laughingstock of the world knows he's a freak show and that he's evil. And you can listen to people trying to say that this and that. He's like, but everybody outside of America hates this guy. Oh. He has screwed America up so bad, your dollar isn't going to be worth wiping your butt with. And then and I said, I agree with you. You're preaching to the choir, man. Right. Like, you're telling me all the things I know. And he goes, America needs to realize it's not just America that needs either Trump back or somebody strong back. We all need him. The world does, right? We are falling apart because America can't get their act together. And it's more important to not hurt somebody's feelings and to let a boy become a woman and win a sports medal than to be strong and put America first. Right. And he's like, it's so funny because you hear these people saying that Trump was too America first and it was really harsh on everybody else. No, that was exactly what the whole world needed.
Everyone else fell into line.
Yes. And so it was really cool to hear from him because he agrees with him and I agree on a lot of things, but to hear it from a perspective coming outside of our country to say, dude,
that's good to hear.
Nobody likes this guy. We all see how evil he is. The woke agenda is sickening, and it's really bad out there from what I understand. It's really bad over there. And he's like, just seeing this is it's destroying the whole world. It's literally tearing the world apart. We have to find a way to fight back. And so it was interesting to hear that perspective. Yeah.
Your guy in the Underground Railroad,
Tim Ballard.
Tim needs to get his stuff on the Daily Wire.
Yes.
With Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Or Charlie Kirk, any of those guys.
That would be cool. And with this movie, he's getting people are finding him and realizing what his organization does, and they're getting more popular. I really encourage everyone to look into them. Definitely. They're a nonprofit organization, so if you want a cause to give to for a tax write-off or something, definitely. Go for it because they're doing really good work. I hope that he continues to get more popular. The only thing I'm concerned about is he might not be able to do undercover work anymore the more his face is out there.
But he needs to hire some professionals that he worked with in the past.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's worked for CIA, Homeland Security, all these things, and then he quit because he couldn't get done what he wanted to get done with them.
Wasn't a priority.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that sad?
They wanted to do it, but it's like number 100 on the list.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
It's sickening. Mm-hmm. And to go back to Hollywood real quick before we move on. By the way, Jay said Daily Wire needs to expand to all other platforms. There's a reason they don't. Just so you know, they don't want to. They do have Twitter stuff and stuff like that, but these other platforms are manipulated, right? Like even the fact that we're still live right now is amazing to me because I mentioned adrenochrome. I thought we'd be taken down like that. Like there's a reason why Daily Wire doesn't want their money going to these organizations that are pushing this stuff. Anyway, so back to Hollywood. Real quick before and I don't know if you have any military stuff you wanted to talk about tonight or if we were just doing this, but
no. Doing this.
It's getting later, so I don't want to keep you too late. But Hollywood is showing their evil plain on full display. Yep. They're doing ritualistic, satanic dances at award shows. Taylor Swift even did one. None of these people need your money. Stop giving your money to these people. And I get entertainment, but there are other, and I need to practice what I preach too. Find forms of entertainment that are not giving money to these people, because this money is going towards these pizza parties and these really creepy things that are happening. And they're literally like smacking your face with it at this point. They're saying, "You're so dumb. I can get up here with a Baphomet," which is the demon of child sacrifice, mask, and you won't even know it. Like, ha ha ha. So stop glorifying these people. And like Riley, our daughter, she loves certain music, she loves certain people, and I'm constantly telling her they are not good. Like, you can like this kind of music, and we'll find ways for you to entertain yourself and enjoy this. But you need to realize that these people are not people to look up to. They are not good people. And she always asks me, she's so cute. Anytime she talks about anyone or wants to like go see a show or something, she's like, "Are they Christian?" And I'll be like, "Well, I don't know, sweetheart." "Well, then we can't go see them unless they're Christian."
A lot of movies coming out in the last, 9-10 months, Christian movies.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. And like Daily Wire is one of those groups that's really responsible for that. And I'm grateful for that. Daily Wire, The Blaze, some other things are responsible for that. So it's good to see.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Anything else you have to say?
4th of July
yeah.
parade coming up.
Yeah.
The American Legion was selected for the Grand Marshals.
Woo woo.
So we'll have some really cool cars and a cool Ram truck headed down Main Street and Broadway
Yeah.
as Grand Marshals. And a few days after that, excuse me, over at Timber Park, the American Legion will be hosting a 9th annual cruise-in from 10 to 3.
What day is that?
That's going to be on Saturday, right after 4th of July.
So the 4th of July?
So on the 8th.
Oh, the 8th.
On July 8th. All the trophies are handmade by veterans, from vehicle parts, cylinders.
They're so cool, you guys.
And some of them are heavy. I actually have to have someone else give me a hand, but they're really cool. But we'll have other sponsors like Figaro's Pizza. We'll have Christie's there. We'll have GDC, Frozen Treats.
Woo-hoo.
We're going to have some other organizations there. We'll have the Boy Scouts in town helping out. So a good cause, veterans helping veterans. So please come out and we'll go live and try to get the word out. But the sponsorship this year has been amazing again.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's going to be at Timber Park, right next to that Portal Park. So let's hope that they don't vote for that there, because that would suck.
Yeah, and that has to be by July 1st. Vote.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Anyways, thank you guys for coming out tonight. We love you. Next show will be the first Tuesday of, I don't know what day that is because I don't have my calendar out. Or the first Monday. Sorry, the first Monday of July. I don't know what day that is.
Let me get it.
Anyways.
July 3rd.
July 3rd will be our next show. And Joel and Sean should be back. I'm hoping. So we'll have a full crew. And you won't have to just listen to
the corners again.
Yeah, we'll be pushed to the corners because, we only get the middle when they're not here. What's that about?
And on time, two times in a row. I'm
going to try to push for that every time now. So we'll see how that goes because Joel likes to take over the controls when he's here.
He's
so great at what he does. He's so great at it. I just don't add all the fluff and we just kind of have a talk show. So sometimes it's a little more boring when it's me controlling the producing side of things. But you know what? It's fun.
Doing good.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. I hope that you guys have a great rest of the month, and we'll see you before the 4th of July. But get prepared for 4th of July. Let's celebrate pushing back to get our independence back. More flags, yeah. And have a good weekend, you guys. Thanks again. We'll see you soon. Bye. I'm waiting for the... Is it working? I'm pressing the button. Okay, you got to talk to Jim for a second.
Yes.
Stop the show.
You gotta hit the other button.
The other button.
All right. Hope everyone's doing well out there. I know it was a Monday, but life goes on. Appreciate everyone out there